So I wanted to make a video about a little something different this time, which isn't really related to Tides of Revival, and it's just a little bit related to open world game development, but maybe not that much either, just in part. And what I'm gonna do is a bit of a video. It's maybe more for myself, but maybe you will get something out of it too. And that is basically our recording of all of the stuff that I made for .big bang. And so .big bang is this website, and this was what I did at my previous job. I was a community engineer there, and that basically meant that I made games, and I used the product to make games and also to figure out what needed to improve in order to make the product appealable or usable by more people, by new game developers and so on. Figure out where the rough edges were, bugs, UX improvements, and so on, which is all things that I really enjoy. And so I guess one of the things that I didn't maybe realize before I started the job was how much I would enjoy making art in their tools. And I did. I realized a lot. And so the reason why I'm making this video is because I got laid off from this work, the company, about, what is it now? Well, early last year, so 20 months ago or something, and 18, 16, whatever. And among I think we were 25% laid off, and I think now they have laid off almost everyone remaining. And I don't know the specifics. I think they are still working on it to some degree, but my concern is that they will have to shut down, which would be sad in and of itself, because it is a pretty cool platform. But primarily, I want to record what I've done there, because if they shut down the website and I don't do this recording, then all of that stuff that I did I will never be able to see it or find it again. So that's why I'm making this. And so I'm a programmer primarily. In my day-to-day job, I've always seen myself as a hobby or game designer as well, or a real game designer, because I have actually designed games, some of them quite successful, but maybe not commercially, but in other ways. But I've never really seen myself as an artist, and I think as a programmer you get put into this pigeonhole where if you're a programmer you can't do art, and sometimes I think it's easy to really pigeonhole people and be like, why are you even attempting to try art? Because you're a programmer, you shouldn't even do that. Or you're attempting to do game design, but you're a programmer. Or the other way around is also very common, but you're a game designer, you shouldn't try to program, that's bound to be terrible, and all of these things. Whereas actually, if someone tries to do both or multiple things, they can be massively it can be extremely good for the development of the game or studio, whatever. And so I have certainly always seen myself as not an artist at all, and I can't draw, I can't don't know anything about color theory and all of these things, even though I kind of do, but in my brain I'm always I can't do art, right? Even though I know that I can. I'm not a good artist, I know that, but I know how to draw like characters with like a reasonable uh, you know proportions and so on. And lately I've been drawing maps for like kind of RPG maps because I think it's fun and that sort of thing. And it doesn't turn out terrible, so I know I can do art. But I've never really thought of myself, I think, and especially before I started working on Big Bang, I never really thought I could, be an like do art. And like maybe you won't, maybe you'll still agree after this. I don't know. But so, like people have, I've certainly worked with people who have said like, haha, Anders is, having thoughts about art. Why is he having thoughts about art? He's just as, he should stay in his lane, basically. And it's easy as if you think of yourself as like, yeah, you're right, I am just a programmer. I should like, do what I'm good at and not try to like do anything else and feel a bit sort of beat down, I guess, in that sense. But I don't know. I think when I started on this job, I realized that with some tools, with some types of art, it's actually can be quite easy and fun to do nice, cute, good art in various ways. And so I'm not only going to show art, because I have also made some interesting code stuff as well that I and all of these tabs are just like things that I have done that I want to show off, basically, or maybe not show off it. As I said, it's more of like it's for my own sake mostly, so that I can look at this later at some point and be like, hey, I actually made these things and I remember them now. And so yeah, that's what I want to do. And yeah, so I think during the course of Big Bang, I sort of grew in of working in Big Bang. I grew in my skills naturally, but also like my confidence as like, well, actually, I can do art. Actually, within the right constraints, I can certainly do stuff in that area. And anyway, so I think we can begin. So this is one of the things I did. I don't remember exactly when. I think there was like a scripting challenge or something that we had, and I guess I was like, I like procedural generation and I like sort of terrain generation and so on. So I made this very special terrain world experiment, and because I didn't really know if it would work, I think, and I just wanted to try it, and it turned out pretty interesting, I think, in a way that like I haven't really seen other thing, like I haven't seen anyone else do what I do here. And basically it's like it's basically like a quad tree terrain, but it moves with you in a way that I haven't seen other terrain do. So like when you see a big cube like this for example, that means that there's a mountain over there, right? You can see the mountain shapes across this landscape, right? But when you're down close, here it's smooth, right? The blocks are smooth enough that you can run up the hill naturally, and here it's like super nice, and you can see how the further away you are, the coarser the blocks become, which is kind of how quad trees tend to work, but not quite in this sense, right? Because they don't do what they are doing right now. They aren't like you've never seen a game I think where this happens, where you can sort of I don't know, it's really hard to explain the feeling, but I think maybe it speaks for itself. I don't know, I just thought that this was a super interesting experiment in how it turned out. And you can like this feeling of running up thing that was just a big block recently, but now it's not. And if you look back now the thing that I was on, the smooth hill, is now just a big block. I don't know, it's a very interesting type of loading, I think. And this was like, 100 lines of code, I think. Like, not like 100 lines and like, thousands of utility lines or something. Just within the .Big Bang framework, this is like 100 lines of code, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, so this is something that I made with 2 of my colleagues at, let's see if I can reload this, yes. At .Big Bang, not at work, I think, not like during work hours, but for a Ludum Dare, maybe, or some kind of jam, and it's, I don't remember how to play this, but you can switch to like a Terraria style view and basically dig down, and then you can find diamonds or whatever these are, some kind of gems, and when you have these gems, you can then teleport up, and you can go to like an upgrade station, and you can also like place these towers, and soon there will be like monsters coming. And I thought there was like a let's see if I can also like get that, and let's get this one too. I don't remember what my inspiration was for this originally, or do I? No. And now I can maybe, for example, also upgrade my rate of fire and my damage. And so now when I go down, it'll be, you can see that I'm shooting faster, and so I can go down here, and now the monsters are coming, and hopefully I can upgrade my towers, and I need to do that before they, destroy my hold, right? And then there will be stronger and stronger enemies spawning all the time, and so on, right? So you dig deeper, you get more diamonds, you get better, you place more towers, and you try to do, I don't know, I think you just need to survive some number of waves or something, I don't know. And there's like a balance of like, to upgrade my ability to dig or my ability to, defend. I thought it was kind of nice, although a little bit buggy if I remember correctly, but as a concept, I thought it was nice. Okay, so let's see. So this is actually an idea I had for my sort of streaming background, so my wall here, and I would have like a paint on the wall, like maybe like a door, or it would look like a library, and I would like paint in these shelves that would look like they had like magic, the kind of tomes you would find in a sort of like a fantasy magic library, and there would be like, cool lamps and stuff. So I think this is one of the things that is fun to do in .Big Bang as well, is like this thing where you can both draw but also like make it 3D, so you can get a little bit of a feeling. I think it was cute. This was just a play attempt at a logo. Before Tides was called Tides, it was called something else, and this was just me playing around with that. Let's see, this was on I'll get to a better version of this later. This was made from art challenge. This is the same we looked at before, I think. So this I think this was a scripting challenge where we had like weekly scripting challenges, and Oh, so how do I even... Oh, I can throw them left or right, and oh, this one is like winning, so I need to stop them. Oh, right, and if I like knock them in the this, then I can stop them. I didn't remember that. And somewhere is me, and I just need to stop all of the other ones. And this, I think I'm gonna lose now, I guess. I don't know where. Yeah, there I am. So I have probably lost now, I think. Yeah, so cute little physicsy demo. Yeah, and I don't know. There was some kind of script challenge that we had. And of course they don't really care that it's crowned. Okay. This was another scripting, another art challenge, and if you, I think maybe you can recognize this, even though it's not finished, obviously. But this is supposed to be like the scene from that movie, and this is that wizard from that movie. It's a little cute diorama. Oh, wow. I think this was on technically an art challenge, but I made it with a bit of scripting as well, or maybe it was some scripting challenge called maybe Fire was his theme or something, and I used this to try to implement global illumination, kind of, or I'm not sure if that would be like the correct term for it, but so there is no lighting in Big Bang, or at least there wasn't when I did it. So all of these are like all of the lighting that comes from these arrows on the walls. They are, I calculate them on the fly as the arrows are flying, and I have this. I made like a spatial grid storing all of the arrows and the boxes, and to figure out very quickly like which ones it's lighting up and which ones it's moved past, so it's time to stop lighting them up and so on. Oh wow, and now there's a lot of arrows, and that was fun. So I think I wanted to do bounces, but I don't think I got around to it. But yeah, I think this was like one of those, like, if you do it naively, it's incredibly expensive, but with a little bit of what's called acceleration structures, it was actually quite fast. So that was fun, and it looked nice. So this this was an art challenge, I think, yeah, where the theme was wave. Ignore that. And so I decided to make a human, wave of, onlookers watching a sort of it's kind of like a semi-paused scene of a racing, a race taking place. So there's like cars spinning around this corner, and these are making the wave, and so this was both like making this character animated and also finding a nice way to like randomize their colors so that they looked a little bit differently and apply them, figure out the base color so that when the tint is applied it looks relatively nice. So that was a fun little project, and it turned out quite smooth. So this is a mix of art and code. This was a very silly thing. I don't remember what. Well, no, I think the theme was buffalo, and then of course I had to make like the buffalo, whatever sentence, and I just made some buffaloes, and they're just standing around doing buffalo things. I don't know what this was. Okay, so this is similar to what I did before with a 3D terrain. that's lodded, but in this case it's the trees that are lodded. Well, actually the terrain is also still lodded maybe, but the way it works is that like when you're it's really freaky. You can it's a lodded forest where you can like find a path through the forest. It's just like if you imagine that this is like a pearly noise, and the trees are placed, I think, where like the tops of the pearly noise basically, but it's done in such a way that when it's farther away, I use bigger sort of clumps of trees together, so that to save bandwidth. And when I get close to them, there's just like a single tree, and that basically means that I get because one of the problems with the engine was that we had a huge limitation in the amount of entities you could use. Like if you had like more than 1,000 entities total was like of course you can make games like that, but for our like internal like to make sort of professional goals within the engine for people to play, we couldn't really have more than 1,000 entities, because it would just be too bad for performance. So I wanted a way to have like these lush big forests, but have very few entities, but you would still be able to walk into a forest and walk, feel like you can walk inside a forest, by like despawning the big clumps of trees and replacing them with smaller clumps of trees, and then you can like find your way weirdly through this forest, which this is cool. I think it's cool. It's something that I haven't really seen anything else quite like it. Yeah, I mean, this looks like, if you just look at the horizon, it looks like there's like must be like a tens of thousands of trees, right? But probably it's just like a 100 tree entities or something like that. And of course you can yeah, it's really freaky. Right. I don't really have much more to say there, I think. Let's just reload it to see what it looks like from above one more time. Yes, I think here you can kind of see how they are kind of like, this is the lowest LOD, I guess, and then which is like a big blob. Like this is one entity, one art instance, and then these are like a little bit less loaded. And here you can see, I guess, the two smallest LOD steps are down here, right? That's just how it works. And now you can really see the gridiness of it, or like, I don't know if they are on a grid, but yeah, they're probably on. But that's not something that you see when you're on the ground, right? Then it just looks like you have a big, forest in front of you. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Be gone at some point. Let's see, what's this? Really warm game. I don't know what this is. I know we had like a script challenge or art challenge that was like Heat or something, and so I made something based on that, but it doesn't seem to load. So maybe it's broken somehow, whatever. I don't think it was a big thing for me. And this is just the same thing, I think, as the last time. Let's just double check, because I know I did a few different variants of this boxy terrain, but I don't know if there wasn't like significant changes, like maybe optimizations and things, but I think they worked kind of similarly. Yeah. So this was also a very short attempt at like, okay, we don't have lighting in the engine. Can we fake lighting somehow? Wait, is this the real? No, sorry, this is not it. That I will get to later. This was an attempt at making a creature that would walk with, you know, IK sort of by in code. So this is like a procedurally driven animation, and it did not turn out very well. I think I never got the there were cases where it looked better, but yeah, I never really got it working nicely. But it's pretty cute. This was just also, I think this has been solved since then, but at the time we didn't have a way to like have grass, so I just made an experiment where I used particle effects, and so like add an area. And of course, to do this, you had to. It only works on like flat, you know, ground. But still, like if you made a game that had flat ground, this would be like an okay way. You know, the only way really to make grass at that point. Okay, let's see what this is. Fixed frame rate world. Yeah, I think this was maybe just a demo for someone who asked a few things about, if, you know, using fixed frame rate and what the problems might be with that and so on. So I don't think this is very interesting to show. But I wanted to, I guess, give an example of like, how can you like, if you want something to only happen at a certain rate, but still have it be consistent, how do you do that? I don't know. Memes. I don't know what the art challenge for this was, but I made a, you know, I think you recognize the meme, I hope, out of this. This was Taxi. This was one of the first things I did, I think, just like trying out the editor. It didn't look like this when I started. It was more like a cyber, what's the word? Whatever, more like a futuristic, but now it's more like a bee helicopter. But whatever, like it turned out interesting. From a first sort of attempt. This was when I showed my dad what I was working on, and I was like showing him how I could make like the apartment building or complex that he lives in Big Bang. So my parents live here, kind of. So that was I think that also like is one of the like. It's actually a pretty cool tool, Big Bang, because it's really easy to make these things and it's really accessible. You just go on the website and you know, you can just draw there, and it's very quick and natural. So I hope it stays up. We'll see. This was for some kind of art challenge. I don't remember what the title was, but I think I was practicing my texturing skills here, and I think it turned out quite well. Both like brick colors and like the asphalt, sidewalk, the shading. I liked how this turned out. There weren't really any built-in tools for this. I think after I did this, or maybe after I did a few other things as well, I came up with like some suggestions on how we can make make the tools, you know, make tools that make it much easier to make these kinds of like textured arts art assets, but I don't think we got that far. This is on my NYC murder scene. This is my work profile, I think. So here you can find all of my stuff, and you can just go there and look if you want to. And like if you scroll, there's like 100 things here, and I won't show them all, but I will show a few more. Maybe I'll get back to showing just some of them. But I'll do that a bit later. Okay, so this was my attempt at like, okay, we don't have lighting in the game, so can we fake light by like, I think I just like queried, but you could somehow get the all of the trees and figure out which ones were the closest and just apply like a emissive, I think, on them or something, as though you were holding a torch. And like, you know, it's not a great solution, but it doesn't look half bad for some kind of art style, I think. You could buy it. I don't have that here, but actually one of the things that one of the pieces of swag I got was 2 cups that looks like this, that I still use a lot. Still today, I think I drank from both of them. And this was just me practicing at like, okay, how do I rotate a 3D object manually? And it didn't turn out super nice, but also it's just really hard to do this kind of stuff in 3D. But like whenever I did something like this, it was like, okay, this is something that people might want to do or should be able to do. Can we figure out where the pain points are in the tool to make this kind of thing easier? And so I had a long list of like suggestions of like, here's how we can improve the voxel tool. Me and a bunch of other people also had that, similar lists. I think this one turned out pretty cute. I think this was by a request from one of the community members, and surprisingly this was something that didn't really exist before. And so basically what it's doing is there's an animation, like a looping animation on these packages, and when it's done, I don't remember exactly how it worked, but basically when it's done, it like, instead of looping back to where it was, it moves it to it moves it back, but in the same frame it also, like when it restarts the animation, it also moves the entity forward exactly the amount that it moved in the animation, and that just makes it look like it's like it's walking, and I was able to apply any scale to it, and I also made it so that all of these walk with the same speed. So even like the biggest one moves much slower, and the smallest one, it's so cute, moves much faster. And in that way they all just move together, which I think turned out really nice. I want to see it again. I think especially these small ones are super cute, and then they have like, whatever. Let's go. Okay, so this is, I don't know what the challenge was here, but I made a kind of like a diorama, or like a one of these cute cozy houses, and you think it's just that in Big Bang, but it turns out that all of these big voxels are actually small voxels, and it's like a horror thing. But this was kind of, I don't know why I did this, but it was done, I was inspired, I inspired myself. This is, I made a game a long time ago, that was in and of itself and inspired by Populous. And so in this world, this village grows where it's like flat. And it grows, I guess, faster, I think, also where it's flat, and slower where it's sort of hilly, and it does it in like a procedural way. So there's no, it's not like I have mapped out areas where it's supposed to grow and so on. It's just like dynamically finds a path through the through the level. And I think eventually it'll just get out on this side and like explode into like 1,000 houses. Which is cool. We can leave it there and then we'll get back to it maybe later. I don't remember the prompt for this art challenge either, but probably Candy. But I really liked how it turned out. The way I got this, what's it called? Shell to like bounce and like rotate in the air and bounce. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Very natural. Like, this kind of sucks, but whatever. I was mostly trying to make this look nice, and I think I did. Like, just this is something that I realized that I really like doing, is having like a physicality to the animations. And like figure out like, okay, how, I mean, it's not rocket science, but still this process of like, how do I move things in 3D so that it looks like it's, moving naturally, and how do I rotate it, these kind of rules. And this, I don't remember what the prompt was, but this is a mouse that's scrolling. Or a hand that's scrolling. It looks pretty nasty, but yeah, that's what it is. Here's a cool dragon icon thing that I made. I really like how it was easy to make these kind of animations, and I really liked trying to make them smooth. And like figure out how to get something that feels like it's not just abruptly moving or changing or stopping. I like when it's like moving in a smooth way, and like you can sort of see the transformation that it's going through, and even having a bit of lighting on it as the flame lights up everything. It lights up the dragon. Those are really fun effects to add. I named this It's Chomping Time. I do not remember the prompt, but it was something with eating, I guess. I think it turned out nice. I like the way I got the eye to, like, when he moves the head down, the eye stays in the same place, and then it has to like make a loop to get back into place. I think he turned out pretty cute. I did not realize how hard it would be to get an organic, like a real character to look like he doesn't look like. I think it was just supposed to look like a zombie or something, but this is some either kind of weird creature. Like, this is hard art for me, but the animation turned out nice, I think. Before I talk about this, I'm just gonna close that, but I'm gonna restart this just so it's ready by the time. So this, I don't remember the prompt here either, probably boat or ship or pirate or something. But I really like make these kind of animations that loop seamlessly. And so that's what I did. And I also, I guess, wanted to learn how to do lighting. So like this isn't like, there's not like a bake light button in Big Bang. All of these pixels are all of these pixels in all of the frames are hand, colored, lit to create this this effect of like it lighting up the ship, and also this and here I had to like figure out, okay, but what happens when you combine two lights, and like how do I make that look natural, and so on. Like this is also things that we could have built tools to really assist with, and I'm not like just talking about like, okay, we could have like a bake light button, but just things like increasing the saturatedness and the lightness of things, and there were things we could have done to improve there. This was nice, I think. Snow, winter, I guess, was the prompt, and it was nice to make a snow that felt like you could really feel like this was just a snapshot from like a winter graveyard thing. And I really liked how this little falling snow thing turned out. Feels very chunky and snowy, so I'm happy about that. This is also an example of where like I tried to make animations that are kind of seamless. Like, of course you can, like, if you just look at one spot, you can see exactly where that it loops, not where it loops, but that it loops, but also have like other things that loop at different places, kind of where you're like, okay, if this loops when it hits the bottom, then the snow, all of the snow particles also their loop seam, like their spawn and end loop is like a at a different time, to create an illusion of this is so that you can't really see just a clear, like, this is when it loops. I think this was one of my first art challenges. I like how it turned out. It's like a witch's kettle of witch stew or witch potion or something. I like this effect that I got out of like squimping, like this physical effect of like feeling like it's actually fluid and some of it flies out and it behaves kind of nicely and naturally with it. It's like some of it squimps out and so on. My son saw this and was like, but why isn't it decreasing in amount, because it's just squimping out. Well, yes, sometimes you make simplifications. Then I think this was maybe my first real foray into like physical animation, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this is, I don't remember why it turned out so slow, but this is a bomb I made for a game that I will show soon, and it's an animation that I just spent maybe a bit too long on, but still, the thing with Big Bang is like even animation that has like, I don't know, this had like probably 50 frames maybe or something, and also I tried to make this like feel physical with like, it's hard to see now because it's much slower than what it's supposed to be, but if you look at this cord, when it's like plugged in, it gets like a jolt of electricity and it kind of bounces out again, and then falls down and slopes. all of these things were nice to do and fun to do in .big bang. I wouldn't have done these things if it weren't just really fun to sit and work in .big bang. So hopefully I can show you this in the actual game where it is a little bit faster. I think we had it in the game still, yeah. This was a plasma weapon that I did that for the same game, but we never ended up using it in the game. This was also like a very early thing, like a resource pool that was meant to be used for this game, but we never ended up, well, it was used and then we cut it, basically. Let me reload this and let's see if it's, did we make a practice? Yeah, so oh, there is a practice. Let me try this, see what happens. So we made a game in .big bang for Preston, and maybe I need to reload. For like Preston, you know, the top 5 or something YouTube person. We made a lot of games actually for him, 4 or 5 games I think for him, in some kind of partnership, and this was one of them. And yeah, it needs to load in. So this was like a 4 team versus game where you like pick up resources in the map, gold and diamonds, and you go home to upgrade them and to get or upgrade your weapons, upgrade your base. You run out and you get more resources, and you you get back, and if you're good, if you have, like, are on top of this like resource the resource game, basically, you will at the towards the end of the game, which is like 10 minutes long, you will have much better weapons and even ways to like get around the map than your opponents. So I made most of the coding, and I also set up almost all of the entities, or maybe all of the, no, not all of the entities, but almost all of the entities in this game. And then the goal is like to get to all of your opponent's vaults and destroy them, like basically steal all of their gold. So these are the 2 stores that you have, is like buying items and buying upgrades. And all of these items, all of these icons, I think almost all of them are mine. I think some of them have been to, like, this isn't mine. These 2 aren't mine. I think maybe these 2 also got a bit on upgrade. Actually, maybe these icons are not mine either. But all of these ones are my icons. And I had fun doing like so let me buy some bridges. And oh, that's right, if you don't, like, if you can't afford something, I made it so that you can place this sort of indication for your teammate that this is what we should upgrade next. It's even rotating a bit. And one of the things that I did very early on in this project was this bridge building. So it's basically trying to figure out like how we can dynamically build a bridge across this chasm by like doing a bunch of raycasts. And so if I place one here, for example, it will take a couple of seconds, and now I can walk across it. And so this dynamic way means that you can basically like place this bridges kind of like in a free-form way. Oh, a bunch of diamonds. Let me just get back home and I'll show the store a little bit more. And I think it turned out pretty nice. It was like the game that we based it on was more of like a Minecrafty type game. But the problem with that is we as I mentioned, I think we can only have 1,000 entities, and if you have Minecraft blocks that you can like build any which way you want, you would run out of that limit immediately. So this was like a how can we get across in a snappy way without using more sort of entities than absolutely necessary. So I spent quite some time making these little upgrade animations and upgrade icons so you can kind of see the progress. Let's see if I can upgrade the buildings a bit. And now I can buy this fun little springboard. And this is like this is a fun thing about the game. Now I can like paste it here, and instead of like walking across, I can jump across. And so by putting these springboards in like a sequence around the map, you can kind of really speed run it, which is cool. And then you can do things like upgrade your... Oh no, I need 80 more coins. Damn it. I guess I'll go for another run around just to collect some stuff. And of course, like, you're beating your enemies off from the map and so on. And it's actually a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun playtesting this. A funny story that I think I can share. Oh, who's gonna stop me? For the Preston actually did a stream, or maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. When he was, basically showing off the game to all of his, the game and like the platform to all of his like millions of viewers. And yeah, so now you can upgrade like to a metal vault, and then even to a plasma vault, I think we call it. And yeah, so he did a stream with like his friends, and like one of the ideas that they had was that he should be able to cheat, so that he could like troll his friends by like invoking a cheat that only he knew. And then that would be cool and hilarious Preston stuff, right? And I don't remember, but I think we made 2 or 3 cheats, and I think maybe one of them he found and used, but I spent like I think a couple of days on one of them, and I think maybe I can show it later, that he just ended up not using during his stream. So I was like, okay, well that was 2 days or days well spent. Let me see if I can find this bomb here. Yeah, so there's a bomb. I want to show it because I think, if I remember correctly, it looks kind of fun. Let me get some more of these springboards. So if I think this can go all the way across, I hope. Let's see. Yes. So I can now paste this bomb, and I can plant it. Yeah, so as you can see, it looked nicer when it's played in the right speed. Oh, and now I'm gonna... Oh, boom. And I did. Let's see if there's something more here I want to show. But yeah, I had a lot of fun just working on like all of these icons. I don't think I did the armor icons, but I think I did the other ones. Oops, no. Are there any weapons that I want to show in particular? Oh, I made the portal. That was cool. Let me see if I can get the portal up and... There's even a with the portal, there's like a type of attack you can make that I don't think anyone figured out, except me when I did it against, in playtests and so on. So let me see if I can get the portal, and also I want to get like a turret. And also let me get some more of these. Okay. So towards the end of the game, imagine that you want to attack like another another enemy. So you go there, and there's this portal which you can place, and so normally you can't place these turrets. They're only like defensive turrets, but the portal counts as your base. So what you can do is you can plant this portal, and then you can plant turrets, and then you have like turrets inside the opponent's base. And so if I go and die again, there should now be a portal here, yeah, and I can walk through it, and in theory I can place a bunch of diamonds here with turrets, and then I can go and attack, their base. I did this effect too, this one. I liked how that turned out. I did, and it's even like, I think if you, yeah, I think I did a few of these, and it's like, rotated along the, the correct normal, so it looks like it's bouncing out in the right direction. And yeah, so this was a lot of fun. We playtests quite a lot, and those also were quite fun. But for some reason, I think the idea was that this would hopefully bring in a lot of both players and game makers who would see this game and be like, oh, you can make cool games. But I don't know. I'm not really privy to how any metrics really, but I don't think that really happened, or at least not to the degree that we hoped, which is quite sad. But I'm still quite, I made a few games in my career that hasn't done well sort of commercially, but I'm still very proud of them because they turned out to be a lot of fun. Oh, this is also a fun thing you could do. We had a bit of base building, so you do something like this, and do a platform like this. Let's see if I need more platforms. Maybe can I jump up here? No. I think platform. And I think even and now in theory you have a defensive position kind of that you can hold or whatever. You can place turrets here, and one of the things you would generally do is you would oh no, reach building limit, damn it. You would place the wall, a row of walls around your vault, so that any attackers would have to first break down the wall before they could go in. And of course you can, these are wooden walls, but you can also upgrade the walls. I thought that would have been this one, but no, maybe. Oh, okay, I can buy separate metal walls. That's how it works. Okay, it's been a while. And yeah, so this building limit is also one of the effects of having this low entity limit. This, if you watch this, I think after like, yeah, there we go. So after like 5 or something coins, it turns into a gold pile, and I think the pile grows a bit the larger it is, so you can kind of see how much gold is in a pile without actually. No, it used to do it, but I guess that was removed, or maybe it stopped working. Yeah, so there were a lot of like sort of optimizations like that to reduce the amount of entities in the game. And I mean, it's sad. It's it's really like, you know, 1,000 entities, especially like since most of them are like static. That shouldn't really be a cost. But you know, I just think that they made a number of architectural choices that didn't pan out so well. And you know, with a more data-oriented approach, they could have easily had like 10 times the number of entities, and then, you know, this could have been I mean, it could absolutely have been just improved, but it could also have been just quite different, I think. If you have like, you know, if you have a limit of 10,000 versus 10,000 entities, that's like a huge span of like the type of game you can make. And also, of course, just reduces the amount of time you need to spend on optimizing, and doing things like pooling, you know, making piles, instead of, well, I mean, maybe you want that anyway for visual reasons, but then it's like a visual reasons and not a performance reason. Let's see if there are any weapons that I wanted to show. Oh, this, I like this one. This is not a weapon, but it's an alarm. And oops. Oh, it's sudden death. Well, I won't. Anyway, I made an alarm that, like, if another player gets close enough, it'll start to like make a really big sound, so you can know that, oh shit, someone's in my base, I gotta get back. That was a lot of fun. Oh yeah, I think here I can show. So the thing that I made for Preston is this thing, which is like a drone, and it, you know, flies around you, kind of. I tried to make it look kind of natural with a bit of a bob and, you know, ups and downs and things. Oh wait, let me. This is like the debug level where I had all of the entities in the entire game. That's how I like to work. It's like I have like a bank of every entity in the game, so that when I need to change something, I would go into this level. I could see all of the different things side by side, and I could just pick and modify them and, like, you know, push the changes. And I also use it for, like, you know, various kinds of like testing setups, like this gap between the trains back there. I use that for like bridge testing of, like, you know, seeing how it would build bridges with like vastly different terrains on both sides and so on. And yeah, so let me just quickly show this again. So what it does also is that it moves, you know, semi-naturally. I think it has some kind of avoidance. Yeah, it has a little bit of avoidance. It's not perfect, but it tries. It tries. Little baby drone. And then if it finds an enemy, which I have like one flying around, it sort of hones in on it. And then what Preston could do is he could press F, and it would like do this, fly up into the air and try to bombard it. and also it would target like their base, so you could, you know, get it to very easily just to destroy the opponent's base. So that was fun. Cute little thing, I think. Let's see if these still work. This was a very early prototype of like gathering resources. We had like stand at the place, and it would have to charge up, and then you have to go there for it to like, and then we had wood as a resource, so you could pick up wood, and we also had like, oh, I made this. Yeah, I don't remember now. So this is like a plasma charger, whatever, dispenser, and it would dispense out these plasma modules. They kind of, I don't know if that's intended, but they kind of look like the Deus Ex pickup, don't they? And this is also the one that I showed earlier with like, you could go there and this would put out metal ingots, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Or did I make this? I don't remember. Maybe this was John's doing. Maybe this was my original. Yeah, maybe this was it. I tried to make like a lighting. I don't remember who made this, but I did make this lighting thing that like sort of naturally moved throughout this 3D space. That was also a fun thing to do. What is this? Here's my like target practice area. So I would like, it was used more in the beginning, but I could, because we changed the types of weapons a lot. Here are some of the weapons that we had at some point, but we removed them. Let me see if I can place the bomb again.
Planting bomb. World spawn upgraded.
Let's see if I can get back to that area over there. Let me just die. Oh no. Let me get some money. Yoink. And I want these long bridges, the metal ones. They are. Oh, I need more money. Yoink. These are like a late game bridge that you can build, and they are. I think they can't go like up and down as much, but when you walk on them, you get a bit of a speed boost, and you can go much further. As you can see, this is like red, so you can't like go all the way there. But if you use a metal bridge, you can. Oh no, they're not shown here. Oh, that's right. So this was my like, this platform is where when the game is stopped, so it's like in edit mode. This is where all of the entities were. Let's see if I can find. I think this was the. Yeah. This was the other cheat that Preston has, like a boot of, fire. I think I made these fire scorch. Oh, let me get them. I think that turned out pretty well, like with footsteps of fire. Yeah, I don't know if I have that much more to show, but I think this is, the risk with web stuff, or web platforms, is that, this is a fun game, and I could, it's still up, I could, send a link to my friends or my old colleagues, and we could, have a playtest, but, play it for, again, if you wanted to. But if this gets removed, there's no way to I'm never going to be able to access this again. And so it's just, and there's no way to like download this game to play locally. Like I can't like download the JavaScript and HTML because it relies on the backend and a bunch of stuff. So at some point this is just going to be gone from the world. And like my kids have played this. My oldest and my middle kid have asked me many times, like, "Hey, Dad, can we play the bridge game?" I think they call it. I don't know. Also, they didn't call it Dot Big Bang. They call it Dr. Big Bang, which I thought was funny. But yeah, like at some point, since it's a web project, this is just never gonna get archived. It's just gonna not exist anymore, I think. I mean, maybe they will attempt to do that. I don't know. That would be cool, but I don't see how. Without maybe the only technical solution I can see is like they provide you with like, here is like the .big framework that you can just download and chug your whole game into. But even then, there's like things like accessing the backend and stuff that we that aren't available. So we'll see. I don't know. I think that's just one of the things that make me like PC games and PC game development above all other platforms. Like mobile for sure. Like, I guess you could download an emulator of probably every mobile ever made or something, but you can't like play mobile games on your PC or on a computer or on another mobile, so you can't really play mobile games anymore in a good way. Like console games is like, well, sure, if you happen to have a PlayStation 1, you can play PlayStation 1 games, but the only real way for most people these days to play PlayStation 1 games is to play it on an emulator on a PC, right? So there's like work that someone has to do in order for you to play this game on PC, but normally if you make a PC game that isn't like DRM party or backend microtransaction party, galore, then I guess maybe you'll need a crack or something if it's like a Steam game, maybe. But in theory, playing a Steam game that was made like 20 years ago is basically trivial. Or like a PC game that was made 20 years ago. It might be janky, and full screen things may not work nicely, and so on. But I really appreciate that fact about PC game development and PC gaming. Yeah, I don't know if I have that much more to show here. At some point we had fences, so you can walk over the edge of some places. We can look at this actually, and maybe even the metal counterpart on the bridge. Oh, let me see if I can show you the door as well. So this is like the level. No, this is all of the. So now I remember. So the buildings have 3 levels of armor, and like 0 armor, a little bit of armor, and full armor, and that's what you can see here with like light gray and dark gray is the like medium and full armor, and then also the destruction. Like when you make damage to them, I wanted a way to make it you can see that you're damaging them. So they have 3 damage states basically, and these are just like 9 frames, and I just pick the correct frame based on the type of armor and the the damage amount. I think the same goes for this. There's the door, same idea. Yeah, let's see if I can quickly show the door, just because I think it turned out a little bit neatly. Neat. There it is. So the way it works is it'll scoot down when you go close, and the reason for that is so let's say that you have like a bit of a base like this, and you want an opening, and like before we had a door you just had to have an opening, but then of course the enemy could run that way just the same as you, but this door will only open to the the correct team, right? But there are multiple ways to make doors. It could also like just open on a hinge, right? But the problem with that is that it's like if both you and your teammate is coming from either side of the door at the same time, which would happen a lot of times, then like in which direction would it go, or you would get pushed by the hinge, like the door in various ways. So I didn't want that. It could slide, I guess, in like left or right, but then that wouldn't that would give you the same kind of problem where it would slide maybe onto a player, and even like sliding left here wouldn't look really nice. So I just picked, okay, it has to go down into the floor, and but then I was like, okay, as a so that makes sense from like the defensive point of view, but from the offensive point of view, I also wanted to be like, okay, but you when you come up to like towards base, and you need to you want to get inside because you want to get to the vault so you can destroy it. My thinking was that it would be bad if you had to like where's the sword? Here's, maybe I can get a better sword. It would be kind of bad if you were encouraged to attack the walls. I felt like, because then you would, like, as a defensive player, you would spend a lot of time just rebuilding the walls all the time because the attackers would attack them. So what I did instead was I gave the walls relatively much HP, like especially when you upgrade them, they have much more HP. But I wanted the door to be like where you wanted to go in as the attacker as well as the defender, right? And the way I did this is that when you're attacking it, it's going down into the ground, so that you beat it a couple of times, and as an attacker it's never going to go below this, but now you can like jump over it, and as the defensive team you can now repair it. If I can just manage to hit it, I guess it's supposed to be able to open up. Yeah, there we go. So now when I repair it and I walk away, it's going all the way up again. So that was, you know, I think that was a pretty clever idea, if I may say so myself. I don't know if it was like instrumental in any way in the game, but it just felt like this was a good design for the problem. I'm just good like that. Anyway, there's a bank as well. I forgot about that. So you can deposit money here. Yes, I made these icons as well, and I made it so that they have an interest. So if there's like an incentive, an additional, I guess, incentive to put things into the bank, because they make money for you when they are there. Every 10 seconds or something, there's like an interest, and then you can, like, of course it's better in some way to let it linger there, to grow bigger and bigger, but of course it's also better to extract the money so that you can, like, you know, upgrade your stuff, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there are more things in the game that I can show, but they aren't really game things that I made, so I don't get as much from, like, showing them off. But like, there's this energy drink, and which you could drink, and when you drink it, you run faster, I think, by some amount. And this teleport thing, which is kind of neat as well. That bloop, you teleport. I didn't do this either, but it's a really nice part of the game, if you get skilled enough to use it. And yeah, I think there's actually like a decent skill ceiling in this game, where a good player is much better than a, you know, average player, and there's like several skill levels which you can, you know, advance to become really good at the game, which is always a fun, you know, it's fun to make a game that ends up in that way, where the players can learn and become better and better, and not just by, like, you know, sniping better or whatever, right, aiming better. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Dot Big Bang. With some luck, it'll still be here. Or with some luck, you can download the games and play locally. Maybe it'll turn. Oh, there's a turret, and this is what it feels like to get attacked. I don't think it does any damage, or yeah, it does a little bit of damage, but primarily it slows you, which is it's not a good feeling, because you're very easy to pick off when you're slowed down. I don't remember if we had these in the final game, the metal walls. I think we did, but I don't think this is how they look. I think that was my design, and I think we got some proper art for them. Oh, that was a platform. Yeah, it's the same style as this, but just metal. And these ones are, I think, much sturdier. Well, now I have upgraded the weapons, so maybe not. Okay. I shouldn't do this much longer, because I've already taken a lot of time, but that was what this was for, really. So yeah, hopefully some of it's recorded okay. Goodbye.